You're listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast, talking TV shows and movies in easily digestible chunks.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Bingecast. I am Jay, being joined by
Zeke,
and
hello.
That's Nami, aka the Peanut Gallery. Kat from Shadow Cat Cosplay is also here, but will most likely not be participating because, she's just not very interested in this in WandaVision because we are back for episode 5. Sam
got yeeted by Wanda.
Yeah, he got yeeted out of Westview. He'll be back next week. Most likely, Chris is at work because as we record this, it's coming up on the big game. Can't actually call it by its proper name because I don't want to get hit by the NFL for some reason or other. Like you never know. You never know.
YouTube's strange.
Yeah. But Chris is just very busy with work right now. We will get him back in for one of these before the end of the season. If nothing else, we'll just do a rap cast for it. But yeah, so last week was the sort of like meta episode of WandaVision where we saw what was going on in the real world outside of sitcom land, and we got all sorts of callbacks and characters popping back up, like Jimmy Woo from Ant-Man and Wasp.
And the internet is so true. We need to have a Jimmy Woo FBI X-Files.
And he had himself a little whiteboard with all the little theories. No red strings, unfortunately. We got confirmation that Geraldine is Captain Monica Rambeau, daughter of Maria Rambeau, R.I.P. And they found out about all this weird shit going on there. Monica got yanked into Westview, where she got stuck, and
she got properly.
And then they brought in Darcy from the first 2 Thor movies, who is now a proper doctor in astrophysics herself, which is hilarious because that wasn't what she was studying at all. But when you get a bunch of experience in that sort of thing, plus I think she probably just got into astrophysics so she could figure out how to open a portal to Asgard so she could see all the hot Norse gods again.
Probably.
Of course, Asgard's gone now. If she wants to see the hot Norse gods, all she needs to do is go to Norway and visit New Asgard. And we found out that S.W.O.R.D. is literally just as much in the dark as we are about what's going on. They don't know why this is happening. They have no answers whatsoever. And yeah, so it basically just sort of showed us a peek under the hood, as it were. And we got that, frankly, jump-scary moment where we saw Vision without the sitcom illusion on him, where he's dead and he's missing a chunk of his forehead. That was one of those moments when you see him, it's like, holy shit, what the...
I really want her to actually be puppeteering his dead body. That would be so creepy and cool sometimes.
Well, I mean, anytime that you see Wanda stepping out of the, stepping out of the sitcom illusion, and you see that she's just sort of like she's not okay, and she is literally in denial about everything, and just, this is my perfect little world, nobody better interrupt it.
If
she's literally becoming a Karen. If she gets a Karen haircut in a future episode. Sorry.
If someone had that power, it'd be very scary. Especially if we all know that person.
Yeah. It would be very scary to see reality warping Karen. Mm-hmm. Please, Wanda, don't go there. Please.
I would like to speak to your manager. No, yeet.
Yeah.
I said I would like to speak to your manager.
To the cornfield with you. But yeah, so we're about to start episode 5, which is titled "On a Very Special Episode." ... Which. Ooh, yes?
I just thought some things we want to see. I want to see a anti-drug commercial now. Remember the 80s anti-drug commercials?
Well, judging by the thumbnail,
that's like Full House to me.
Yeah, that Agnes there has a very 80s sort of outfit going. She's even got the big teased, looks like she's got the teased 80s hair going for her too. And that's another thing, going back to last week, we found out that most of the characters in the sitcom reality are literally just citizens of Westview that have been cast in these roles.
Except for one.
And that one character was?
The first one they met. The first lady that they met. The one
Agnes.
Yes.
Agnes, yeah, I don't think, as I recall, was not on that board. So she could be somebody that has some knowledge of what's going on here. Because while Wanda clearly has some degree of control over what's going on in Westview, there's a definite sense that somebody else is also in control here. Because things that we saw in the previous episodes, in the transmissions that S.W.O.R.D. are picking up, they don't see. Like the thing is being censored. Yeah, the most clear example that the S.W.O.R.D. saw was when Wanda realized that Geraldine wasn't who she said she was, and we saw her going into scary mode, starting to advance, and then there's a cut, and she's still in scary mode, and then roll credits.
Yep. And no one knew what happened to the beekeeper.
Yeah, the beekeeper. We still don't know what happened to the beekeeper. We're hoping all that happened was he got yeeted out of Westview, but we have no way to confirm that because we never saw what happened.
Maybe he's sipping martinis on Matai, and what is that place? It's Perfect Paradise.
Tahiti?
Tahiti.
It's a magical place.
Yep.
I doubt that because Tahiti doesn't exist in Westview. Small towns, they're just so hard to escape.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we're not really sure what's going on, but we're ready to dive into it to see what sort of weird and creepy stuff is going to happen in this episode, which, again, looks like we're now into the 80s. With 4 episodes left, I'm wondering where the cutoff for the time period is gonna come in, because, well, 90s is where you're gonna get your like Friends, Seinfeld sort of stuff going on, and then once you get into the noughties and the 2010s, I don't know I'm not as familiar with the tropes for those sorts of for that era of sitcoms because I sort of stopped watching them around that time period.
Yeah, the only one I remember was like in the 90s was Home Improvement, so that's the last one I ever watched.
Yeah, so, the noughties, I think, is probably where the cutoff's going to come up, because, episode 5, 80s, episode 6, 90s, episode 7, noughties, and then you have, like, 2-part finale, where presumably the real world will get involved again.
That's true.
So, anyway, that about wraps up this intro, so we'll see you after the binge.
While the binge is happening, thanks for listening to our podcast. Please give us a like and subscribe and spread the word. You can reach us on social media on Facebook or Twitter at BTD_Bingecast. The Bored to Death Clan is part of the CKCC Radio podcast family, including J Bunny's Music Hub, the Race Nerd Podcast, Real Paranormal Talk, Ranking Tracks, Motivational Moves, Girls Who Like, and The Nerd Table. Please consider supporting CKCC Radio on Patreon. And now, the binge is done, so let's get to the discussion.
And we're back. Peanut Gallery had to step out for a bit. She may come back, she may not. Regardless, it's me and Zeke, so...
It's going to be shorter than usual.
It's probably going to be shorter than usual, but probably not as short as if it was just me. But, so now we're starting to blend sitcom reality with the meta, as it were. Stuff happening outside of the bubble. The hex, as they're calling it. Which I think is a nice little, like, nudge, wink, wink to her powers in the comics, which were, where she threw around, like, hex bolts or whatever as part of her powers.
I would take your word for it because I'm not a big comic guy.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with her exploits in the comics either, but I do seem to remember reading about that a great deal. But we got confirmation of what's happening to the people inside Westview, where it's basically Wanda's in their heads and is basically forcing them to behave like their sitcom roles.
Also feeling the pain and misery that she feels as well.
Mm-hmm. Monica basically confirmed that she felt like she was drowning in grief, which leads a whole lot more credence to the whole theory that this is Wanda's coping mechanism.
Though I'm curious on the fact of why her head was empty.
That's true. They did like a scan of Monica's brain, and the results came back
Empty.
Though
that made me think that she was somehow still connected to Wanda, but I don't think that so much after the end of the episode.
Or it's a case of, well, it may be like lingering effects of whatever reality warping is going on, because as has been shown in the previous episode and in this one, things that pass through the hex are altered and changed to fit the current time period. Like with the beekeeper, it was a guy wearing basically like a radiation suit, but when he passed through the filter, it changed into the nearest thing that would fit the time period, and also the sitcom reality, and became a beekeeper's outfit. The cable that had connected him to the sword equipment, the end of it got turned into a jump rope.
Moral of the story: if you want to work at a nuclear power plant, wear a beekeeper outfit.
Sure, that's not going to protect you from all the radiation, but go for it. But like when Monica realized that anything that passes into the hex is changed, she went and looked at her clothes, which they had taken off of her and were studying in the lab. She went in there, took Jimmy Woo's gun, and shot her outfit, and the bullets just like fell. It was bulletproof because she was wearing a bulletproof vest when she got pulled through. So most of that clothing she was wearing was like 85% Kevlar, which is a handy little thing. But it's there were a couple of more things going on there. Like Vision is starting to become aware far more that things are not normal in Westview, because the twins, the boys, go from being babies to 5 years old.
Well, he started noticing that a little bit before that, because going back to our previous episodes where we think that Wanda's controlling everything, she's kind of getting worn down, you can tell, because the people in there are going, should we take a second take of this?
Well, going back to the beginning of the episode...
that before they babies turned into babies to 5 years old.
Wanda and Vision were trying to get the babies to go to sleep because they were crying constantly. And then Agnes shows up, as she's wont to do in these circumstances, to be the super helpful neighbor that's always has the answers,
which never exists in real life,
or at least they hadn't yet identified her by that point. It's very possible that she is literally just one of the Westview residents that is just given more competence than usual because that fits the narrative that Wanda's trying to push for whatever sitcom episode is going on.
Maybe. I have a theory on that.
Yeah, well...
we'll save it till the end.
Yeah, well, when we start talking theories, because I have some going on in my head too, some of them are a little bit more shaky now after the ending to the episode, but we'll get to that. But when she volunteers to basically help get the kids to sleep, Vision goes into overprotective dad mode. First time parent, and it's just sort of like, I don't know if that's a good idea. When was the last time you watched As a matter of fact, just no. And, Agnes sort of blinks at him and then turns to Wanda. It's like, did you want me to take that from the top? Literally, like, it was like he missed his cue or flubbed his line and threw her off so to the point where she's like, why don't we just start over? Like she was waiting for Wanda to do her little blip, and reset the scene thing. And Wanda didn't rewind anything, but she gaslighted Vision to basically be like, oh, she just got a bit confused for a moment. Just literally tried to brush his concerns away, which is as troubling as anything else that's going on in all this. But by the end of the scene, the twins are suddenly 5 years old. And...
alcohol makes you grow. Because she was looking for some dog alcohol for the kids. Next thing you know, they're fine.
Yeah, and then later when we return to the episode later, the boys have found a puppy that they want to basically keep, and when Vision walks in and finds out about this, he's just sort of like, no, this is not a good idea. He and Wanda try to basically do the whole. Basically say, well, I think maybe when you're a bit older, like maybe 10, and the boys just share a look, and they're immediately like, no, and the boys just immediately become 10 years old. Not sure what's going on there, but then by the and then there's like all of them like trying to take care of a puppy, training the puppy and stuff. But as they're figuring out in the real world, that things that pass through the hex have to fit the time period, or they're forced to fit the time period.
Yep.
Like the original sword drone, the little helicopter drone that Monica sent in, turned into like a toy helicopter. The her clothes and the bulletproof vest turning into 70s clothes, and all of that. It just. She immediately realizes, well, what if we send in something that doesn't have to be changed? And so they send in like an old 1980s style like drone, and to try to make contact with Wanda. And Monica's just trying to talk to her, and we got a kind of a scary moment where Wanda's glaring at it, and we see her eyes start glowing red on a black and white transmission.
Was it black and white? I thought it was, yeah, that's why.
The drone camera. The drone was black and white. The drone camera was completely separate from the broadcast.
Yep.
And her eyes start glowing red. And we should point out at this point that the director of Sword, whose name I can't remember right now.
Douchebag 101 is what we're calling him.
Douchebag number 1. Earlier in the episode when he started basically giving a briefing on what Monica discovered from being inside Westview, basically was painting her as a terrorist. He's not entirely wrong with what he's pointing out, that she's essentially holding an entire town hostage.
Yes. But everything before that...
Yeah, well, and Monica takes pains to point out that she's not doing this she's not being aggressive with any of this. She basically trying to point out, I think what she was trying to get to the point of saying is, she is going through some serious grief. Yes, she's messed up in the head, but she's not aggressive. We need to be understanding to try to reach out to her rather than approach her like she's somebody dangerous that needs to be taken down.
Yeah, and I like you have Captain Douchebag, and then you have FBI
Jimmy
Woo, who is the opposite of Douchebag. He's like, I'm trying to be painted as a nice picture.
He's a very nice guy.
She has no secret identity. We don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. It's just sort of like during the briefing, Jimmy Woo gave a brief synopsis of Wanda's life up to like Ultron period, and that's where Douchebag cut him off, because it was at that point, of course, that she had basically been complicit in causing all that destruction in an African city when she turned the Hulk violent.
Yep.
And all the other stuff she was doing with Ultron, and that she'd been like very anti sort of America, anti Tony Stark especially, before she earned the Avengers' trust and became one of the Avengers. Jimmy Woo pointed that out, and he was like, "Did she have any other code name or anything?" It's like, no. It's like in this reality, she was never the Scarlet Witch. She was just Wanda Maximoff. Yeah, he came across as a real douche, and it turns out that when that drone got sent in, he had a missile put in there.
Which should have broken the loophole, the plot hole. Because does any drones in the 1980s carry a missile? Because if it didn't, it should have been brought back to the regular 1980s drone. Any modification to it should have been pushed back.
I can't say for certain whether they had armed drones from that time period. It may just be that they retrofitted it, but they like covered it in the exterior of the regular drone. And since Wanda didn't notice it coming through the hex until it was at the door, basically flying right over her neighborhood, it's very possible that whatever reality warping stuff she has control over in Westview didn't take effect.
We're assuming that aspect that she has to see it. Cause what about
be aware of it?
Because remember, the drones before, she didn't know about the drone in there because she saw the airplane, remember? So I think the bubble has its own mind, and it turns it back in. That's why I think it's a problem.
There is something going on with the Hex in general. She has some degree of control over what's going on in Westview, but I don't know that she necessarily is the one who created the whole thing.
I mean, granted, I have two strikes.
I think she's taking advantage of its presence and her control over things in it to give her to basically cope with her grief.
I have two strikes against me right now because, I'm saying I think the bubble has its own effects, but we saw the beekeeper get yeeted out of there.
Well, we still don't know what happened to the beekeeper.
Well, she said nope, he disappeared.
He disappeared.
And then we have the drone, which means 2 against me, 1 for me, hopefully, so.
Well, but around the same time that that Monica came to the realization of we could send something in that's already 80s to avoid the Hex control, rewriting it. We saw a scene with Vision at computational services, his workplace in the sitcom reality, where they're getting their first computers in the office. And
how does that make you feel? Does that bring back some flashback memories? Getting your first computer?
My first computer didn't have anything like those capabilities.
You didn't have those kind of computers back in the day.
You are trying to make fun of the fact that I am older than you.
I used those computers back at school. My school was dirt cheap. We had flash drives. By flash drives, I mean floppy drives that you can actually floppy around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the old 5.5 or whatever.
Yeah,
I remember those. I remember those. The believe it or not, the computers that I had to use in school were exactly like that. Mm-hmm. You probably got the hand-me-downs from my school. More than likely, because as you said, your school was dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap.
But anyway, but during that scene, as Vision is trying to explain to Norm in the office what what computers can do, he makes some crack about surfing the internet, and I'm just thinking to myself, they didn't have the internet in the 80s, or at least you wouldn't have been able to access it from your workplace in the 80s. It would have been some DARPA project that hadn't yet seen the light of day.
The big computer that took over.
Al Gore had not yet invented the internet by that point. But lo and behold, when he fires it up, we get like the modem dialing thing, and then an email comes up, but it's a sword email. And as Norm starts reading it out, everybody else in the office starts reading it out at the same time.
Which, I would like to mention, this happens before the drone, so my thought process was they sent an email in there to see what would happen, because when they were saying, hey, let's send something back from the 80s, I thought, did they really just send an email in there from the 80s?
I think... I'm still not sure what the deal was with that, but it started breaking the illusion hard on Vision, to the point where when he tried to interact with the computer, fritzed out, and he then turned to Norm, who was still all wacky sitcom coworker guy, just sort of touched him on the temples, and the guy comes out of Wanda's control and starts freaking out. It's just looking for a phone. He's like, I need to call my family. You need to stop her. You need to stop her.
Which brought something up to my mind. Remember the first words the guy booped back in when they were in the hospital? I need to find a phone to call my family.
Well, yeah, you're talking last episode when we saw the D blip.
Yep.
Yeah, there was something similar to that, but that was. We don't know where specifically Monica was when that all went down. Probably wasn't in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So, regardless,
I'm waiting.
But then Vision basically zapped the guy back into Norm mode, zapped him back to normal. So just to stop the guy from freaking out, but you could tell that Vision. Yeah.
I like the fact that that's a good acting skills right there. You went from happy I don't crack cocaine to oh my god, the word's going to end,
and then go back to what are we gonna put on? What are we gonna say to the email? You're the funny guy in the office. Well, and then we found out sort of what the very special episode thing really was. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself because then we got the drone, and we saw when Wanda's eyes started glowing red, the feed from the drone cut out right around the time that douchebag ordered the drone strike.
Shoot the missile at the
and then suddenly
witch.
Alarms start going off, and basically every single like sword agent with a gun, went out there and they had like the little green laser sight thing as well, and they all trained them on Wanda as she came out in her Avengers outfit.
Yep.
Dragging out the wreckage of the drone, and basically told Sword, "Stay out of my home."
This is my home. Do not touch it.
And Monica tried to reach out to her. It's just like and basically trying to tell her, "I didn't know that it was armed, and you know that." And basically was trying underneath everything that's going on. Wanda subconsciously wants to be stopped, or wants someone to help her. Yeah, she has some serious degree of control going on here, and there is somebody's doing a mental whammy to her.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's Agnes or not, or somebody else, it's not yet clear. But this is like a very serious grief and coping mechanism for her. But yeah, she also showed just how dangerous she could be, because when she told off douchebag and just like stay out of my town, and she had started pulling up some of her powers, she then mentally controlled all of the agents with the guns to point them at douchebag as she just walked back to the hex and back out of there, and then all the guards basically came back to their senses. But it was like one of those moments, like, if you say or do the wrong thing, they will fill you full of lead.
We have guns pointed at your Leo. Mm-hmm. Please tempt us.
Right. But when she got back into sitcom land, Sparky, the boy's puppy, had run off, and you got a real good sense that again, with the sitcom the sitcom folks in Westview subtly sort of nudging that we know that Wanda's doing this to us. We're not happy about it, but we can't stop her. With the mailman.
Yep.
And he's just sort of like, if your mother's not going to let him stay missing for long.
Yeah.
It was one of those sort of like, he knows. But
everybody knows.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I think
Sparky ate a bunch of Agnes's azaleas. Well, Sparky was dead.
Well, yes.
That's what it comes down to. Sparky was dead, and the boys were just like saying to Wanda, like, you can just bring him back. And Wanda's trying to impress on them that that you can't do that.
Yeah.
This is where her subconscious is coming in. She is trying. She knows that what she did with Vision, because we got confirmation that is Vision's body that is being puppeted. Because we saw a clip when douchebag was doing his briefing that Wanda basically broke into a sword facility and stole his body.
And apparently Vision had a will.
A living will. That he did not want to be turned into a weapon.
Yes. See, yeah. I'm having flashbacks of good old S.H.I.E.L.D. with Sword. Because didn't S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of just do questionable things at some point in times? And
yes, but S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time was also infiltrated at the very root by Hydra.
Yes. You
think Sword has been infiltrated by Hydra agents?
Hydra agents are someone who's not KI good, just more like KI. I want to see the word burn.
Well,
they look into the void. And the void goes back.
The thing is, anybody that was a lot of Hydra's agents were exposed when Natasha leaked all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secrets at the end of Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
It's possible that there are still some out there that weren't named, because we saw with Strucker and the Hydra bases in Age of Ultron, not every Hydra facility or agent was necessarily named straight away. they were aware that there were still some out there, but they didn't necessarily have information on where they all were.
But we're thinking Hydra. I'm thinking more AIM.
It's true. It could be AIM, but we still don't know the significance of the hex.
That's true. Well, the hex is something that's questionable.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get some answers by the end of the series. But Wanda and then Vision, when he walked up, tried to impress upon the boys that it's just sort of like there are some things you can't take back. You can't just make them go away. You have to sort of move past and accept it. This is her grief and coping mechanism. She is trying to move past her losses. Her brother, and then Vision, 5 years of her life, and all of that. And yeah, she's going about it entirely the wrong way.
Oh yeah.
But I think this is part of it. But at the end of the episode, Vision straight up, still in sitcom land, straight up tells her that he talked to Norm without her oversight. And Wanda tries to basically, without rewinding it, because I think she's starting to realize that she can't keep doing that. Wanda tried to sort of nope out of there by basically, it's like, why don't we just? And he's like, sit down and watch TV, so we can then go to bed and so you can change everything again.
Typical wife and husband scenario. Get in a fight, I want to go this way. Doesn't matter which side you're on. I want to go that way to avoid it.
Not that you're speaking from personal experience at all.
No, one bit.
She is very clearly trying to avoid.
Nope.
And to the point where she starts rolling the credits, and Vision keeps talking over them. And to the point where they're like both like getting ready to fight, and we find out he doesn't remember anything before Westview.
Yeah, that's gotta suck.
He is very concerned about what's going on. He's like, why are there no other children in Westview? He points out that there's a playground in town. It's been there since day one, and there's never been any children.
He walks it by every day to work.
On his way to work, and she doesn't have an answer for it. But then you basically find out that she tries to play off the whole idea that she's controlling everyone in town, because she points out how much work that would be. Having people go to their dentist appointments, go to work, and do all these other things. That's sort of like implying she is not in complete control of what's going on there. I think she's only really has oversight over people that are in scene with her, or that anything in the broadcast, boom, her control extends over to them.
Yep.
If you're an extra walking by in the background, you're in sitcom happy Pleasantville mode
until she pulls you on the set,
or throws you into the set.
Yeah.
It leads shows furthermore what was going on with Herb in episode 3. When he was starting to cut through the fence like that,
I can't slow down. I can't take the camera off me.
It's just he's just sort of like, I was trying to get away, but now the camera's on me, and now I have to be Herb again. Stop it, please. And yeah, that's all just real kind of scary.
Oh, it's all dark.
Oh yeah, it's getting real dark, but. At the end, as Wanda is trying to basically she admits to Vision that she isn't in control of all this. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and Vision gives her this look, and she's like, "I didn't do that."
Again, speaking from personal experience, I've had this argument,
and he's literally like, "I don't believe you anymore."
I'd love to believe you, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, it's just like, after what he's come to realize, he can't do that anymore. And she goes to answer the door, and it's Pietro. But it's not her Pietro.
Yeah.
This is Evan Peters. This is the Pietro from X-Men universe.
From the First Class universe. How you doing there? You in the wrong movie set?
And he's just sort of like, he's just sort of like, aren't you going to say hi to your brother? And she's looking at him in confusion, because this is not something that she had anything to do with.
Yeah.
but she's sort of clinging to the whole idea of, it's my brother. Sort of. And that's where the episode ends. So, yeah, that sort of blows a whole bunch of theories out of my mind. But one of the ones that I'd been thinking about since last week, especially with the way she's sort of updating the time period, I'm wondering if she is not trying to basically work her way towards the present day with what's going on, to so that she can then, once she's basically gotten her, established her happy little family life, and that once they reach like the present day with it, and she has a loving husband and two lovely sons, that maybe then she'll let she would then let the bubble sort of fade, and then boom, it's reality.
That is if she's controlling the bubble.
Yes, and I don't think she is. I don't think she's the one who made the hex. She is taking advantage of it, but she is not the one in control of the hex. She did not put the hex there. And yeah, I'm just the part at the end there with Wrong Pietro showing up was just sort of like, what? It was, that raises a whole new slew of questions. But when we realized who it was and that it's not the right one, I was like, multiverse.
Yes, the portals have been opening now. Time to open up the gateways.
Mm-hmm. Well, we already know from all the various news that we've seen about Spider-Man 3, about Homecoming 3, that they're going to be bringing in characters or actors from the previous Spider-Man movies.
In theory, but you more want to go with the multiverse,
Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Because this is supposed to take some kind of effect in that one, and if it's the Multiverse of Madness, let's forget about Spider-Man for right now, because Spider-Man has his own universe. This is going to be...
Except Spider-Man Homecoming, the Homecoming movies are in the MCU.
I understand that. But most of the time when it's Spider-Man, it's the Spider-Verse, not the multiverse.
This is fair.
Therefore, it's like...
Well, but here's the thing. How much overlap is there?
That's where the fun's going to begin.
Is the Spider-Verse part of the greater MCU multiverse?
All I gotta say
or is Spider-Verse its own thing?
They better make a joke if they're going to do something for Spider-Man here. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Friendly multiverse Spider-Man.
No, it's friendly neighbor. It's like, hey, I'm your friendly neighbor from next door. You need a cup of milk?
Tom Holland were to pop up, coming by to get a cup of milk or something. Oh God, it was I don't know what's going on now, and I'm wondering if next episode, if we're still going to be 80s or if they're going to jump forward to 90s. Probably going to jump forward to 90s.
I mean, he did mention so we can go to bed and reset, and you can change the whole house again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Vision's becoming aware of this sort of thing now. Next episode, when they update to the 90s, because I'm getting sort of a Full House vibe now with him suddenly showing up. Well, sort of a Full House kind of vibe in general with this episode.
I will say, creepy as heck. Drawing of the family.
The opening credit sequence for WandaVision, the sitcom.
Yes,
was started with like a black and white pencil drawing sort of outline picture of Wanda, Vision, and the boys. And it's it starts filling in the color, and we see get a little montage of them as babies and as children, as young adults before getting to the current age of them, including baby Vision, which was just kind of hilarious. And then we got and then it was introducing Tommy and Billy. Not just Tommy and Billy, it's and Billy! Exclamation point.
Which makes you ask, how do they get pictures of them growing up when they grow up 5 years like that?
It's sitcom logic. Don't think about that. How do they get pictures of baby Vision? He's never been a baby.
They shrink him.
His powers don't work like that.
He does have the ability to morph around a little bit.
Yes, but he doesn't, size change.
That we know of. Everybody's powers have been changing slowly.
Yeah, that's a fair point. we still don't know how the hex really works or what Wanda's degree of control over it
Wanda
is.
went, I want a baby picture. You're now a baby.
Basically. But it's like the boys having some degree of control over themselves like that, and that Wanda's powers don't work on them. No. We saw that as a baby when she tried to be like, go to sleep. And the babies kept crying. She was like, go to sleep.
They laughed at her. Like, your powers mean nothing to us.
They put the pacifiers in the mouths and they just spat them back out again. But yeah, there's like a whole bunch of questions. It's like, we still don't really know anything of what's going on. They got to do a whole bunch of explanations in the finale or something.
I just want to know, with these movies coming up and this being a tie-in, I wonder how much of it's going to affect. Like, if you didn't watch WandaVision, God help you with Spider-Man 3 or
Multiverse of Madness.
I cannot memorize it to save my life.
Doctor Strange 2.
Doctor Strange 2. When Doctor Strange 2 comes up, it's like, wait, why is Wanda here? What's going on?
And that's, I'm sure, something that they are working with their writers about. Is like if they're smart, at least, they will sit down. They have like a sit down with all of the writers for. It's like, okay, we're in phase 4. Here's the plan. Here's the plan for release order of things. Here's the overarching thing we're going to be going with for phase 4, which might be all multiverse related.
All I gotta say is I know how they're gonna fix this problem. Remember, Spider-Man 3 comes out before Doctor Strange 2. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna have Tom Holland go, and this is what you missed!
Spoiler mode. Possibly. But I'm wondering now if the multiverse aspect isn't going to be the overarching thing of phase 4. Like, phase 1 was the Avengers.
Yes.
And the Tesseract was a major part of everything that was going on there. Phase 2 was, dealing with all of the introducing the concept of the Infinity Stones as the MacGuffins that were involved in everything.
Yes.
And then phase 3 was Thanos and everything leading up to Infinity War and Endgame.
Yes. Now
we're in phase 4, post Thanos, and we have Homecoming 3. Has been, apparently is having some multiverse aspect to it.
Yes.
They already introduced the concept of the multiverse in Far From Home.
No.
Well, no. See, but while the multiverse thing there was a lie, they introduced the concept of it. Now with Wrong Pietro showing up.
I mean, they really practically said. I mean, if you take out all those Spider-Man, they've already said Doctor Strange is going to be in Spider-Man 3. So there's your gateway.
Yeah, and we know Doctor Strange 2 being about the multiverse of madness aspect of it. And, I think the multiverse is going to be involved in all this. And plus, we can't forget Loki. The Loki series is in an alternate timeline, therefore an alternate universe.
Yep.
And while it's not clear what's going on there, from the trailer it seems to imply that there's a lot of jumping between universe stuff going on there. I do think that the multiverse is going to be the sort of the new MacGuffin of the MCU, like the Infinity Stones were through phases 1 through 3. It was the thing that was sort of driving so many of the plots, is that that there's one of these things in play or it's implied in some way.
This is true. I hope they go with because there was a theory back in the day before all of this happened, where they will have a Galactus threat level and a down to Earth threat level. So you have Galactus, and then you
have your cosmic level threat.
Yep. And
like Thanos was, but now Galactus would be a great one.
And then you have Doctor Doom down there on the planet side going, ha ha ha! I'm gonna destroy the universe.
Kind of like in Age of Ultron, we knew Thanos was out there because they introduced him in the stinger of Avengers.
Yep.
But he didn't factor into the plot in Ultron because Ultron was your Earth level threat.
Yep.
And that is how you want to approach these things. You drip feed things for the cosmic level threat, the arc villain, as it were. But then you have somebody else that is, the main drive of the force presently of the plot presently. Like in in the first Avengers movie, Loki was your heavy, the guy driving the plot. Thanos was out there manipulating things.
Yep.
Same with Ultron, and then Civil War. Thanos did. We didn't really see much of Thanos really until Infinity War, where he finally sort of got up off his throne to start being like, I'm going to start collecting stones now.
I guess I gotta get off my butt and do some work. Be a member of man.
It's just literally. Well, as we saw at the end of Age of Ultron, where he put on the gauntlet and just goes, "Fine, I'll do it myself." There's still a lot of questions here, and with Wrong Pietro being there, I'm going to keep calling him that because it's not the right Pietro for our Wanda.
Yes.
He is Pietro, but he is not the right Pietro.
Which makes me, I don't remember because I don't remember much of the movies for X-Men. Was there a
Wanda in the First Class series? Yeah. She was much younger than Pietro.
Okay.
Or Peter, as he was called in the newer X-Men movies. He wasn't Pietro, he was Peter. But Wanda was like 5 years old, and Peter was a teenager. Okay,
there was a
they weren't twins. They weren't twins in the X-Men movies. It's I'm wondering how his presence is going to throw things off. If he is something that she conjured up.
Nope, I don't think so.
Oh, or if it's a case of she wanted Pietro back, and because there's some sort of multiverse aspect to the Hex, it tried to pull a Pietro into reality for her sitcom world, but it got the wrong one.
I don't think so. I think
I'm just spitballing ideas because I don't have any answers either.
I think it's the bubble trying to derail a situation where I can't handle it. Because
with Vision pushing things, and Wanda and Vision fighting at this point in time, bad plan, because that's going to really shake up the bubble. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, so I need to fix this. It's because Vision, we know, is very powerful in his own right.
Yes,
but Wanda is one of the few people on the planet that it can actually destroy him. We saw her rip rip the Mind Stone out of his head and destroy the Mind Stone in Infinity War, and she almost killed Thanos,
which they mentioned,
which Jimmy Woo did mention during Douchebag's briefing. No, Jimmy Woo did say that. Monica then pointed out, it's like, and she probably would have done it if Thanos hadn't decided to call down a blitz.
And then what's his name mentioned Captain Marvel.
Well, it's just like she was. Somebody made some comment about how Wanda was probably the only person that probably could have done it, and Jimmy Woo goes, my money was on Captain Marvel, and you saw Monica just immediately like, yeah. there's some issues there because, well, let's not forget, Captain Marvel after her movie kind of went off into the universe.
Yep.
For 30 years.
Did her Green Lantern out there,
and didn't really come back as far as we know. We don't know exactly everything that happened between the end of Captain Marvel and when she showed up in Endgame. But yeah, and the fact that she's still not sort of hanging around Earth because she's just sort of like, Earth has the Avengers and other planets don't, kind of thing. Yeah, as you said, doing her Green Lantern.
Yep, Green Lantern.
Her Green Lantern thing. Well, especially because the Nova Corps, probably got eradicated by Thanos.
Yeah.
Well, no, because when we saw Thanos in Infinity War, he already had the power, the Purple Stone, which had been left in the care of the Nova Corps at the end of Guardians 1.
This is true.
He already had that stone, which basically implies he went and he took it.
This is now mine. Oh, God.
It's like, yeah, it's just, so no Nova Corps around to basically bolster, to provide some to provide stability and peacekeeping in the galaxy. Yeah, that's gonna screw things up. Just a
Tiny
bit.
bit.
So yeah, there's a lot going on. We don't have answers, but we're still down to figure out what's going on.
I'm glad they started mixing things together. I don't like, here's a sitcom, here's real life. They mix everything up, and now it's kind of blending in together, which I like that better.
Yeah. The sitcom reality worked for the first 3 episodes with little hints that there was long stuff going on. But now that they're pulling back the curtain and showing us what's going on in the real world outside sitcom land, yeah.
Because at episode 4, I've been saying this to a bunch of guys that live here with us. I've been watching hour-long TV shows, and episode 4 felt so short because of all the epilogue, stuff like that. And then, I mean, it is 7 minutes shorter than what we just watched.
Well, looking at the previous WandaVision episodes, they all were basically about half an hour long. 29 minutes, 36 minutes, 32 minutes, and then episode 4, 34 minutes. It was actually longer than any of the previous episodes.
Keep in mind, you have to take out the 5 minutes of the credits, and then the credits languages.
That's fair. But that still doesn't really change too much of it. It's still within the same thing. This one, on a very special episode 5, is actually the longest one yet.
Yes, and it actually felt it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like
just a little bit.
It wasn't too long, but it wasn't too short. It had just right amount one time.
It's almost like when Wanda stepped outside of the bubble for that, outside of the hex to threaten Sword. It's like that sort of, because she stepped outside of the sitcom land for a little bit. It extended the episode. Yep. if that was actually the thing, I'd like to go back in time. How long it was from when she started coming out of the hex to when she walked back into it. How much extra time that was, and see how long that sort of, if that added significantly to the time. Because if so, that's a very interesting meta way to play with the format.
Oh man, it's definitely waiting for the next episode.
With the fake commercials, we got another one of the fake commercials things.
Yes, we did.
And again, it's still sort of showing that it's aspects of Wanda's past, because this one was for paper towels, Lagos brand.
The bounty of the universe does exist.
Yeah, but at least in sitcom land it does. Not necessarily in standard MCU Earth, because Lagos was the name of this. That was where Wanda accidentally blew up a building at the beginning of Civil War.
That's true.
Which led to the Sokovia Accords getting created, because there were some Wakandans in that building.
By some, you mean the king?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about at the beginning when they were fighting Crossbones.
Oh yeah, the Crossbones fight. I forgot about that one.
Because he had a bomb strapped to himself, and she trapped him in like a bubble, and was just trying to lift him up out of the area, but she lost control for a moment. Boom! The explosion was released and destroyed a building, and there were some Wakandans in that building that died. The king died later somewhere in Europe when they were drafting the Sokovia Accords, and when Zemo blew up a bomb, and then pinned it on the Winter Soldier.
That's right.
The Lagos thing was just sort of like for when the tagline or something. The commercial ended with like, for cleaning up a mess that wasn't your fault, something like that. And
always, someone spills something and then the husband spills it next.
Yeah, it was very much sort of playing on like she still feels guilt over all of that. There's a whole lot of like the subconscious stuff going on with Wanda and all this makes for very interesting stuff.
Makes for interesting television.
Why, yes. But I think that'll about wrap it up. If Chris were here, we'd probably be going for like another 20 minutes, because we would be speculating all sorts of stuff. Yeah, we'll be getting him back in for a later episode. If nothing else, we'll do a Rapcast with him. If we can't get him back in for by the time episode 9 rolls around, we'll definitely do a Rapcast with him, which will go up. Probably won't go up on on a weekend like most of our regular stuff. We'll put it up as soon as we get it done.
As a bonus feature, here's a bonus DVD thing for at Bingecast on this episode.
But yeah, that'll wrap up this edition of the Bingecast. So, for Zeke and the Peanut Gallery, I'm Jay, and we'll see you next time for the children.
For the children.
Thanks for listening to the Bored to Death Bingecast. Be sure to check out our library of past podcasts via CKCC Radio or via our YouTube channel, and give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you after our next binge.